right, call this meeting to order. 6 o'clock. So, Jenny, take the roll, please. Here. Here.
Mrs. Ott? Here. Mrs. Forst? Here. Ms. Trevelyan? Here. Ms. Forst? Present. Mr. Kaiser?
Here. All right. Everybody please join us for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, looks like we'll be looking for a motion for approval of minutes from the regular meeting held on June 12th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Jenny, take the roll.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forst?
Yes.
Ms. Trevelyan? Yes. Ms. Forst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes. All right, I will be looking for an action for the approval of the accounts from the month of June.
Second.
Any discussion on the approval of the action of the accounts?
I have a question on this Fund 39 referendum approved debt service fund. What is that?
Is there a specific line in which you in the vendor report?
In the bank reconciliation report.
Yeah, so I can answer that one for you, Kathy. So after we had put the money into a separate bank account from the previous referendum that has, I guess, been completed, any interest or anything we have to leave in that account. So what you see there is remaining interest on it. We can't spend it on anything except for referendum-related projects. So that's kind of monthly statement or stable on the bank rec.
And I do have a second question. It shows a negative balance in Fund 10.
I think that's specifically the checking account at that particular point in time. Because of the investment accounts, the overall total is in positive.
Not being an overdraft fees on
No,
that.
no.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, Jenny, please take the roll.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forst?
Yes.
Ms. Trevelyan?
Yes.
Ms. Forst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
And Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
All right, we have some district recognition.
We do have a district recognition. I'd like to call Amanda Lurkwin on behalf of the Marshall High School Drama Club forward, and she's got some students with her tonight. Tonight, if you'd all like to come forward. And I think you're going to project, right, Amanda?
I will, yeah. I'll have a little entertainment for you guys too. So I have just a select few students from the drama club along with us here. I'm gonna take a moment.
Thank you.
There you go. So I'm actually going to share about 2 events that the drama club was involved in. Every 2 years we take a trip to New York City. And this is just some clips from our New York trip just this year. I wanted to bring it up because this was our 4th trip to New York City, and we get to see, and a lot of these students actually were on this trip too, so I was going to bring back memories of that. But we get to see historical sites, we get to go to Broadway experiences, we see general parts of the city, we stay in Times Square, we learn how to navigate the public transportation, which is, life skills in here that are really good to learn. And we have a really great experience, even going through like the airports and stuff like that. Not always great, but sometimes we learn from these things. And I just want to emphasize that not all drama programs in the state do this sort of thing. These student experiences with student trips and stuff are really something that's unique to some of our theater programs especially. And I can't say enough that these student trips give them so many great memories and great friendships and stuff that will last a lifetime, as well as skills that will take them somewhere. That's actually a book I teach in junior English. It was really cool. It was turned into a musical this year, so we were able to meet some of the Broadway performers afterwards and be able to meet, there's one that was in another one of our shows that we saw that gave us a dance lesson too. So it's just a really cool experience overall for the students, which is why I think many of them plan like 2 years in advance. They get jobs, they fundraise, and we do whatever we can. I'm gonna pause here for just a second, if I can pause it. There we go. Okay. And then our next experience here is we were awarded the Outstanding Musical Award for the Jerry Awards. So the Jerry Awards is out of Madison, and each state has a program. I'm not sure if you've heard anything about the Jimmy Awards, but each state has theater awards in the state level that help to send students who are basically the actors, performers of tomorrow on stage to the Jimmy Awards. It's a really prestigious program, but our state level awards are just as impressive. We have 111 performances this year, and only 15 performances, 15 schools were recognized. We don't have a top school because we believe in the ability to collaborate at a theatrical level, but 15 schools, and we were one of those 15. This is only the second time we've won Outstanding Musical. It recognizes the cast, it recognizes the crew. And then we come to the State Overture Center for the Arts in Madison. This is where we're at. This is one of our alumni, actually. Kate Conrades was our tour guide, kind of. She kind of stepped in and said, I'd love to show you around Overture Center since I work here as well. So I'm gonna just show you a couple of pictures here of the rehearsal, so some backstage stuff here, because we go and we rehearse. And then I wanted to share with you the rehearsal because I was backstage during the actual performance. So we have rehearsal video here. The actual performance will hopefully make the cut on PBS. They usually air it in late fall. But it's just such an honor because everybody is so supportive. And again, out of 100-some groups, we were one of only 15 that won across the state, and one of only, I think, 2 from central Wisconsin that were represented. So it doesn't happen every year. The last time we won was Into the Woods. I also want to give recognition to our students who are standing here. Many of them, this is just a certain selection. I reached out real quick and said, could you guys come in? Campbell Cutland, if you could wave at them. Campbell won for Outstanding Performer as well, so she was performing in another medley. A different part of the act. We were there to support her as well, which is super exciting. And then our other performers, Liam, Maya, and Henry are kind of the trio you'll see featured here. They are the lead performers in Anastasia. This is a really great hopping number that we'll show you. And then Kayla is also one of the lead performers as well. They are also, some of them are officers of the drama club, past officers, just a sliver of the size of our group that we represent. But I wanted to share with you real quick, just because it's always fun to have a little energy burst here. This was their rehearsal as they were trying to get lights put together. They only had 3 times to work on it on stage before it went through. But I will tell you, I've talked to other schools that said they were just wow by our students, which is really cool to hear. So here it goes. It's short enough. That's why I made the broad. That's why they said we could use the whole thing. Oh wait, maybe it's going. There we go. It's good. Oh, it's the Wi-Fi. That's not I'll pause it. You get the idea. I'll pause that. You have the idea there. The Wi-Fi is sometimes a little bit tricky if it's not wired in. So
We should just have them do it right now.
I know, right? All of them. It's so, the biggest achievement is all the stairs there. I said nobody fell. So and it was tricky to navigate those stairs. So, But I can't thank people enough, but everybody that helped in so many ways, between parents, between cast, crew, all of the adults that help. We have people that do construction gets recognized. Mr. Scheuer, Joelle Clark's our choreography, Josh Olson for vocal music, Andy Niedner for pit orchestra, and then my directing and lighting is what I was in charge of, but there's so many people behind this, so and the whole cast too. But it felt like a roller coaster. We had 8 days of time together. It was really, it was kind of interesting to think some of these people were going on the New York trip the very next day with me. So it was just a lot. I was it's like a family environment sometimes when you're together that much. So, but it's a really rewarding experience. So, but I'd like to, I thank you so much for, giving me the time to share a little bit. It's very exciting overall. And I got to thank the students too. So they did such a wonderful job. So.
Thank you, Amanda, that was great.
Congratulations. And this is the best part of the board meeting.
Yeah. I think you should come sing every month.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's great.
All right, with that, we'll move on to communications. And I have a few. Nicole Johnson.
Sorry, he was asking me for something earlier, so I wasn't quite prepared to speak first at a chance I could not.
Yes, we've got, and then just a reminder, I think, Jen,
Clearly
we've
not
got
ready.
the 3-minute clock.
Yep,
available.
got a 3-minute timer. I'll ding the bell at 30, when you have 30 seconds left.
Okay, please don't start yet. I thought I was gonna maybe go after other people. This might not make sense, but, words on the street. All right. Hi, first, I want to give a shout out to Mrs. Amanda Lyriquin and her way of being calm, cool, and collected while handling the flight cancellation and day-and-a-half delay that we were stuck in New Jersey after the end of the drama club trip to New York City. The way she was able to take charge and help get over 30 people rebooked on new flights, taxis, hotel rooms, Ubers, talking to the principal, travel agency owner, and keeping everyone calm was so impressive. She is a remarkable teacher, and it was a trip to remember for sure. Next, I've heard rumblings of people believing that there should be another advisory committee for the school referendum, and that a large portion of the people in that committee should be people who are adamantly voting no to the referendum. I understand why they think their voices need to be heard, but I believe that those voices will never be for our schools. They will never be for making Marshfield schools a better place. I think if the school board were to form a committee like this, choosing to have people who are undecided would be useful. But I also feel it's important to have people who know these schools, who know what the students need, and who know what the teachers need. I also feel it is important that the people involved in this committee would be able to identify which school is which across the city, or know any of the teachers inside, or anything about these buildings. We all want to be responsible with taxpayer money, but people need to understand that the schools are important for bringing people to Marshfield. Great schools and investing in our schools shows that we are a thriving community that people would want to move to so that they can feel good about raising their kids here. That is how we build tax revenue, and that is how we build a stronger Marshfield. Finally, it is important that all gender identities be recognized and protected under Title IX. This is important to the students that it directly affects and to people who care about others, including those students. It will not harm those who identify with their sex assigned at birth to learn that there are people who identify differently than their sex assigned at birth. We can learn about someone different than us, and it's not going to change who we are. However, to the person who is different than what is considered to be normal, it is impactful to learn that there are others like them, that they are not alone, that there are words to describe how they are feeling. If a child is named Robert by their parents and chooses to go by Bobby, no strangers yell at them and claim that they know better and that it's awful that they would go by Bobby. What gives people the right to think that they know better than the person experiencing a gender difference? If how someone identifies to be true to themselves bothers someone so much, maybe instead of making it everyone else's problem, you look inside and see what truth you are ignoring that makes you lash out at others. protect trans kids, protect non-binary kids, protect our kids. Their lives are at stake, and we need to protect our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, Scarlett Johnson.
Hello, do I need to state my name and address or anything? Just Scarlett Johnson, I'm a member of Moms for Liberty. In perhaps the most significant victory for Team Sanity, on July 2nd, a federal court halted the operation of the Department of Ed's 1,500-page Title IX changes that, among other things, expand the definition of sex to include gender identity, something that can change like the weather in Wisconsin. The federal court found that the plaintiffs, which include the organization which I represent, are likely to prevail on our claims that the 1,500-page revamp is contrary to the law, that the Department of Education lacks congressional authority to make the rule, and that it violates the First Amendment because it is impermissibly vague and overbroad. And students and faculty will be forced to self-censor, as the judge said, rather than risk punishment if they speak out against a gender identity or fail to recognize a classmate's preferred pronouns. In sum, the 10th Circuit's federal court stops the Department of Education from forcing implementation of the 2024 Title IX rewrite that is expected to be by August 1st. Because there are in schools in which there are children of members of Moms for Liberty, that enforcement must stop. I am here to notify you that children in this school district are covered by that injunction, and I have a copy of the decision right here. And therefore, I ask you refrain from implementing Title IX as granted in the ruling. If you're keeping score, this is the 5th federal court to tell the Biden administration to go pound sand in its rulemaking that eviscerates equality, free speech, and due process in K-12 schools. The court was uncomfortable with punishing females who speak up for their physical safety when forced to undress in front of males, forced to compete against boys in athletics. And you should feel uncomfortable too. It's wrong and you know it. Wisconsin school boards like yours can watchfully wait for more clarity. Biden's August 1st deadline is irrelevant. The updated federal rule has no teeth. And to quote from the judge, the legislative history of Title IX supports a finding that the term sex referred to biological sex. As discussed, one of the principal purposes of the statute was to root out discrimination against women in education. The legislative history shows that Congress was concerned about the unequal treatment between men and women for admissions, opportunities, scholarships, and sports. And that's all. And if you would like a copy, I have them here, so if you want to pass that around. If there's more needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Scarlett. All right, Captain Mahoney.
Okay. Good evening. Tonight, as president of the Marshfield Teachers Association, I would like to highlight and celebrate what your educators' mythical summers off look like. The chunks of time we have over the summer are necessary for meaningful work and professional growth. This summer, I had a friend tell me about the week he had to work on a 45-minute work presentation. I had to stifle a laugh because we educators can't dream of having that much time to work on one 45-minute lesson. So yes, our summer off is absolutely filled with a lot of personal time given to building for the next year. Within 5 minutes of texting members last night, I had tons of examples of our summer work from your dedicated staff. The original list went well over 3 minutes of time, so here are just a few of the things they're working on. Reading books to improve classroom management and build resilient learners. Improving and applying more of the building thinking classroom strategies from last year's professional development. Connecting professionally with colleagues outside of the district to learn new ideas. Diving deeper into understanding AI in the school and the workplace. Exploring how to create a more inclusive classroom so all students feel consistently supported. Diving into different areas of history such as Wisconsin's contributions to the Civil War and nursing during the Vietnam War. embracing how AI can help me reach students at their different levels and needs, scouring sales to add to my classroom library and decor, creating new reading and discussion questions to allow for more choice while still checking my students' comprehension, the LTRS training so I can better understand how Act 20 impacts my instruction now, freeing up my focus during the school year, planning to create the magic on the first day, locker tags, welcome posters, treats, paid for out of pocket, tweaking and reordering units to apply new student empowerment strategies and build moments for authentic or community-based audiences, learning new ways to engage kids, including gamification or hands-on learning activities, researching and planning for new higher level projects, keeping track of language trends. I thought this one was so funny. Apparently my next group of students are obsessed with slang, so this teacher wants to use this to build rapport with them right away. Improving my Canvas page so it's easier and looking for ideas to up-level some current activities, completing self-selected training videos on new intervention techniques, revising lessons, creating new project examples, identifying new learning targets, updating PowerPoints and rubrics, and the list goes on. This prep for the next school year continues as your educators also work summer school, second jobs, and try to balance rejuvenating and reconnecting with friends and families. During the school year, even with the in-service days, we can't teach well and dig deep into powerful changes and new ideas at the same time. So your educators, pushed by their own passion and commitment, continue working in big and small ways so that next year will be even better than 23-24. That's something to celebrate.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, Andre Attenberg.
It's Andrew Attenberg, but I can't write, so we're
All right.
Good evening, board members. My name is Andrew. I have a 9-year-old child who goes to Nasonville, which he is also an avid sports participant. I'm also one of the volunteer coaches for the youth wrestling program that we have here in Marshfield, which I have happily done for 5 years. Currently at the Olympic level, we have Helen Mariolis, Sarah Hildebrandt, Spencer Lee, Kyle Dake, and are some of the big names on our freestyle Olympic wrestling team that have helped grow the wrestling sport to where it is today. Currently, we have Ava Gardner, Erica Slesnikel, Caleb Denny, who are all 3 nationally ranked. Sam Mitchell, Nolan Hartle, Bentley Schwabeck, Osterman, Brad Dozel, and along with Coach Cody C. are a few of the names that we have here that have helped grow in the wrestling locally for women and men. These athletes have all started in one spot, and that's up in the wrestling room at the youth and high school level. Over the past 5 years while coaching, there has been a trend in that wrestling room, and that's growth. It was slow but sure growth until the last 3 years. In the last 3 years, our youth program has nearly doubled from 87 kids in 2022, 104 kids in 2023, and 154 kids in 2024. Out of the 154 kids, we had 12 girls who signed up. I only expect more to do so after Ava and Erica's success last year on the wrestling mats. Along with the girls' number increasing, our club was able to put on a beginner's wrestling camp for first-time wrestlers before the season. We had so many kids that wanted to come out, but because of limited space, we could only take a certain amount. This year, we are doing another one along with a beginner's lady camp. As for the high school team, the final rosters have gone up as well. And 21 to 22, they had 30 wrestlers. 22 to 23, they had 33. 23 to 24, they had 36 wrestlers. And that's only on the final roster. That's not who started off on the season. I expect the high school team to continue to grow because of the girls wrestling, friends getting their friends to join, and the continued success that Coach Cody C has shown over the past few years. With continued growth comes less space. Less space in combative sports brings a higher chance of injury. All it takes is one group to land on another group and possibly tear a knee, causing an athlete to miss their season or seasons if there's any after. Regardless if you have kids in the program or other sports, no one wants to see a kid injured and miss out on his athletics. We need to make sure that there's enough room to practice effectively and safely that is allowing consistent growth in the program. With the details that I have provided today, I'm asking that you all come together as part of the upcoming budget and help grow the athletes' wrestling room, weightlifting room. You as the board should not be waiting to the last minute to decide these things, but to prepare. Thank you and take care.
Thank you, Andre. All right, Jeff Shield.
Mine is a little different. After coming to the last board meeting and reading the paper, I've got some questions on, if I can find them, on the survey that was taken, because I am a numbers guy, but when I was here, I believe they said 26 were for, 24% was against, and 50% were considering the proposal to go to referendum. When I read the article, it seems like somehow it looks to me like they took the 50% who were maybe are going to think about it, and the 20% that said they would, because they presented it as a 70% positive that people in this district were all for this referendum. And I realize that the people I presented that aren't here right now, but I guess I just don't know how that makes sense. And later on in the presentation, it said 86% of the districts, 80% of the people in district thought that the current buildings and facilities met the needs of educating today's students. And so none of those numbers make sense to me. And so as a taxpayer, when I look at that, I go, what do I want to know about this? And for me, like I said, that question about 50%, well, if you were to put, well, would you accept a 10% increase in your state tax, in your school taxes? Would you accept a 15%? Would you accept a 20%? And then you'd have some feel for what your population really thinks. I think, or else other people say, well, give me a mill rate. And I know it's hard to tell what you guys are thinking of because we don't know. Are you asking for 100 million? Are you asking for 50 million? All of that makes a difference as far as what it's going to cost us. And so I'm just looking, when people ask me, what do you think of this? And, a general thing is, well, here we go again, or what are we doing? I think the people just want some numbers from you, some honest, straightforward numbers. And I guess the other thing, and I don't want to, jump on anything here, but the school board and your Blue Ribbon Committee, there is a portion of the population that says that you are all on one happy team that are pushing for a referendum. And and I would not be one that would want to say, hey, sure, let's have people that say no on a committee. But I think when I read the things that says, well, we want to have, we know what the kids want, we know what the teachers want. Well, there should be a group out there that aren't connected, and I'm not saying they should be all the no votes. Maybe it should be, old people like me who, kids have been through the system, and so and money is an issue. I get that. I guess I don't know if there's a way for that to be addressed, or if there's something that can be said, or I can get a hold of the people that did your surveys and did your pieces for the newspaper.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, Ty Gardner.
We'll start the clock yet, Jimmy. All right. My name is Ty Gardner, and I'm a community supporter of Marshfield Wrestling. My wife and I are business owners in the community, and 4 out of our 5 children participate in the wrestling program. I coach at the youth and middle school levels. Here's just a few of the records that were broken this past season in our wrestling program. We had a record 154 wrestlers participating in our youth program, with a record-smashing 26 wrestlers qualifying for the Youth State Wrestling Championship. A record 12 female wrestlers participated in our youth program, of which 7 of them qualified for the Youth State Wrestling Championship. At the high school level, we had a program record 15 wrestlers qualify for the sectional tournament, followed by 6 individual state qualifiers. We had our first ever female champ at the Bi-State Classic tournament with Erica Slesniko, and we had Marshfield's first ever female state wrestling champion in Ava Gardner. Our youth program has been exploding over the past 10 years, and the results have been reflected at the high school level as they've qualified for the team state tournament 5 out of the last 7 years. By far the most successful program that Marshfield Athletics has produced over the last decade. The Marshfield Wrestling program has a reputation in the state for constantly producing some of the best wrestlers year after year. In fact, 2 more nationally ranked wrestlers will be joining the middle school program this year through open enrollment. Great news is gushing out of the program everywhere you turn. Now the bad news.
The Marshfield School District is way behind in providing the necessary facilities and space to support this highly successful program. Examples of injuries due to lack of space are everywhere. In addition to that, women's wrestling is the fastest growing sport in the nation with zero signs of slowing down. Ever wonder why that is? The young girls of this nation have a lot of pent-up energy and they just want to do something, but they're not tall enough for the basketball or volleyball team, or they're not a power hitter for the softball team, or they may not be the fastest wrestler, but guess what? There's a spot for you on a women's wrestling team. Big or small, short or tall, there's a spot for you. They're finding it and they are loving it. The WIAA recognizes it as well. They've been quick to move on the explosion of women's wrestling. Just 3 weeks ago, they handed down more changes to help support the growth. One of the big ones being that beginning in 2025, girls will no longer be allowed to wrestle on the boys' team like they do now. They'll be on their own team with their own competition schedule. We only have 2 female wrestlers on a high school team, and both of them are nationally ranked. We have a boatload of young female wrestlers in our youth program, watching them, looking up to them, working their butts off like them. We could field a girls' youth wrestling team right now. And it's only going to get better. Marshfield Wrestling has a reputation to uphold, and we are definitely up to the task, but our lack of facilities is putting us way behind other high schools in Wisconsin when it comes to women's wrestling. It's a miracle that the program has been this successful for this long with this lack of space. Morally, ethically, and legally, we now have to accommodate a high school girls wrestling team. And we can only do that with more space, which will benefit the girls and the boys at all 3 age levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. All right, Ben Lee.
All right, hello, my name is Ben Lee, president of Staub Construction right here in town, born and raised here. Staub has about 140 employees, and many of those have had students here in the school system, including myself. We are very interested in making sure that the school board is willing to invest in the school system, the upcoming work, and that includes maintaining and expanding the current buildings. We hope that this will encourage students to pursue both the higher education but also all the great jobs that there are right here in the area in manufacturing and construction. I have 3 points I'm hoping to make real briefly. Number one, we want to continue to train and educate the future workforce, and we see great value in the programs like the ACE Academy and other tech ed programs. We're trying to be as active as we can with the school. These jobs do not require the 4-year college degree, and these jobs can start right after high school, and it keeps the students right here in town. They do not go off to the big cities. They stay here, good careers, and they pay taxes here by staying here. So we want to keep encouraging that and being a loud advocate for those type of opportunities. Secondly, we recognize that many of the school buildings and the infrastructure are old and in need of repair. As somebody who works in construction, I want to tell you that the rising costs of a brand new type of construction is going to be monumental. The cost of construction, we believe, are not going down. And waiting for future hopes that construction costs are going to go down, in our opinion, does not make sense. We see all construction-related costs are a function of labor. Labor, 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 labor. Labor goes up. We have not enough people in the trades, and therefore the costs keep going up. I almost see a vicious circle here, right? We want to build a new school so we can get, I'm sorry, we want to add on to the school so that we can teach more kids about construction. It's going to cost money, but then you can create the people that can build it so that in the future you can bring the cost down. We have a huge imbalance there, and we need to keep encouraging the kids to get into the trades. Lastly, a quick side note, Staub Construction does not build schools. We build water and wastewater plants, and we do not have a vested interest in that statement at all. And lastly, I just want to point out that Staub Construction, like a lot of other businesses in the area, are in a huge war for talent. We are desperately trying to get people to stay in Marshall, to come to Marshall, and we recognize that we are competing with all the other communities around here, the Wausas, the Points, the Fox Valley, all over. And we've always been able to point to the good Marshall school system as something to be proud of, and we hope that we can continue to do that. So we are here just to support you, and we sure hope that you put the money and investment in building the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. All right, do we have any correspondence?
No.
Okay, with that, any announcements?
No.
District staff report, facility improvement planning update.
Yeah, at this time I'd like to call Jeff Forward, one of our reps and partners from Nexus Solutions, for our latest installment of updates on our facility planning work. Jeff, I'm going to give you my mics.
Thank you, Ryan. Hello, good evening. No PowerPoint tonight. I'm sure you're relieved, just me speaking. Glad I don't have a 3-minute time limit. Won't be that long. As you know, the school district of Marshfield, guided by the school board, has collaborated with Nexus Solutions to create a long-term facility plan. This plan, set for school board review and action in advance of a potential November 5, 2024 facility referendum, builds on the facility planning effort began in October 2023, as well as previous planning efforts dating back to 2016. Incorporating data and feedback from hundreds of stakeholders from the community, staff, and the school board, the facility plan addresses Marshfield's facility needs for both the short and long term. Like most school districts across the state, Marshfield's facility needs exceed the district's ability to fund the projects within the regular annual budget. Therefore, prioritization of needs for a potential facility referendum is essential. Marshfield is not alone regarding addressing facility needs. During the February and April 2024 elections, 34 Wisconsin school districts proposed referendums for facility upgrades. Looking ahead to November, many districts around the state will be pursuing facility referendums, with some of the more notable districts being Madison School District, $507 million, Kaukauna, $200 million, Franklin, over $100 million, De Pere, $200 million, Green Bay, $183 million, Janesville, $152 million, Sheboygan, $120 million, West Bend, $110 million, and another one is Beaver Dam for $107. Additionally, 9 of the neighboring districts have either held or are considering holding referendums in 2024. So, over the coming weeks, here at Marshfield, important steps in the facility planning and process will take place. This Tuesday, July 16th, we'll be meeting with the Facility Planning Committee. PMA, your financial advisor, will be presenting on school funding and referendum funding. Nexus will present on community information and engagement strategy. We'll review additional steps the board will be taking for subsequent meetings. This gets a little dry, it's logistics. Wednesday, July 24th, Facility and Transportation and Safety Committee of the district and Nexus will present draft referendum plans with prioritized projects and budgets for review. The committee will provide input and direction for plan revisions in advance of a special board meeting to be held on July 29th, at which the district and Nexus will present the updated draft referendum plans with prioritized projects and budgets. The board will provide input for plan revisions, and one action item that evening we're planning on is the board will authorize the district to engage with, possibly engage with bond counsel to draft referendum resolutions. And then we have down August 14th, but we may require a special board meeting on the week of August 5th, as I understand it, which is fine for Nexus. But if it happens to be on the 14th, that's okay too. The district will review final wording of referendum resolutions. We'll present a summary of the referendum community information and engagement strategy. And then the one action item for that particular meeting, and again, this is up to the board, the possibility of board taking action on the approval of referendum resolutions. So that's the schedule in the coming weeks. No doubt the other districts I mentioned are going through the exact same process. The only other one from that list we're personally working on is Green Bay. So we've got plenty of bandwidth to continue our efforts here. That's all I've got.
Are you able to speak to the strategy and agenda for July 29th special meeting?
At that meeting, we'll present prioritized projects and budgets and get input from you for plan revisions. So that's what's on the agenda, but we've been working behind the scenes, taking all the input from recent meetings and prioritizing the plans and putting together proposed improvements, as you discussed with Kevin and Brian. I think it was at the last planning session. So,
Thank you.
that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess one additional piece, Jeff, that I'd like to mention, if it sounds okay, is I know that we've had conversations as we're getting closer to identifying those prioritized needs, and I know that we had some public comment even about numbers, that we are also looking at doing an additional follow-up phone poll in the community to narrow in on even more specific feedback that might help relate to narrowing down what that prioritized list would look like and what numbers might involve. And I think if we're able to pull that off, and I know that's a bit of a task, and we're going to talk further next week, Jeff, about trying to get that developed. I think right now our goal is to hopefully have that additional data be a part of that July 29th meeting with the board as well.
We confirm that with the pollster.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there going to be any attempt to put out some numbers for the community to look at before we send a pollster to contact them?
That's up to the district. I mean, our charter is to work with the board directly because it's your decision, but no doubt the poll, as part of the polling, we'll have numbers. It could be preliminary, but we'll have to get going on the polling probably early next week.
And we have another board facility committee meeting at the end of the month as well, so that's something perhaps, Mark, that we could look at having a part of our facility planning work at the board committee level as well.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, superintendent's report.
Yeah, I do have one item, Mark, that I wanted to report out on. This is always fun this time of year. Early summer is the time of year that we get updates from the state related to our Career and Technical Education Incentive Grant Program. Jenny Frederick, our CTE coordinator, is here attending this evening. Glad to have you here, Jenny. You got a preview of these numbers a few weeks ago along with our business department. But we're really happy to speak about this CTE Incentive Grant Award Program because it is a program that helps support youth apprenticeship work and other work-based learning programs. This program is devised to provide school districts up to $1,000 of grant funding for each student that completes a state-approved certificate in these programs. We have a very vibrant program here in the state of Wisconsin and here in the Marshfield School District. So again this year, the large number of claims resulted in a prorated amount of money given per student. That prorated number this year was $713.71 per student. The current funding allocation, this all works 1 year behind because of the way we collect data and report and get this confirmed at the state level. So the current allocation is based upon the graduating class of 2023. So the Marshfield graduating class of 2023 had 107 students successfully earn one or more. And I want to be sure to specify that, Jenny, because we have a number of students that do two or more. So you only get to count each student once though. So we've got 107 students that have done one or more, or completed one or more industry recognized certifications in various fields of career and technical education. As a result, the school district will receive $76,367 in grant funding from the class of 2023 CTE incentive grant. In addition to receiving this welcome grant funding, which will help support our CTE programming here in the school district of Marshfield, we're also very pleased to have our students earn valuable work experiences in careers right here in our community, particularly when it comes to areas where there are workforce shortages, such as childcare, nursing assistants, automotive, information technology, agriculture, and manufacturing industries, just to mention a few of those areas. So we're, again, very happy and especially pleased to know that this grant funding that we receive will go directly back into helping support further additional activities such as MHS Career Explorer, World to Work field trips for students and staff, professional development for our CTE teachers, in the acquisition of additional equipment and supplies that will go again directly into helping the school district continue to provide additional industry-recognized certification program opportunities for future Marshfield students. Very good, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I got quite a list of gifts that I'll be looking for a motion. And right now, it looks like we got $500 from Mike and Ann Schmidt to offset expenses for HOSA International Leadership Conference. $370 from Grant Elementary PTO for the grade 6 trip to Camp Forest Springs. HOSA, $180 from the Johnson family. $200 from Ren's family. $180 from the Tripeth family. Athletics, $50 from Kurt and Ann Bozen in memory of Arnold's Hiding. $200 from Brock and Decker Real Estate for girls soccer apparel. $591.41 from Nasonville Dairy for girls soccer coach bus upgrade. I will be looking for a motion.
I move to accept the gifts. Second.
Motion and second. Do I have any comments or questions? Great. Jenny, please take the roll.
Right, Mrs. Forrest?
Yes.
Ms. Tramelli? Yes. Ms. Forrest?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Opt?
Yes.
All right, we will be moving on to committees. Facility, safety, and transportation first. Here you go, Steve. All right, with facilities, we had an update from Cobuson Bus. Over the course of the 23-24 school year, Cobuson transported 1,167 public school students, 79 parochial school students, operated 28 regular routes, 5 special education routes, and 8 in-town routes. 1 additional special education route will be added for the 24-25 school year. They just recently held a hiring event. I don't know exactly how they did, but I do know they are looking for drivers and they'll take anybody who's looking. The district will be working with Wood County Sheriff's Department and of public instruction to develop an unusual hazardous transportation plan. If the plan is approved, the district would be eligible for state aid for any transportation of pupils in the affected areas. Currently, the district does not receive funding for students transported from hazardous areas. So, and facility improvement, we just had an update on that, so I won't waste your time with that. But summer projects, Aaron's been busy. Grant School window replacement started June 17th with the estimated completion date of late July, early August. Lincoln Elementary asphalting of Circle Drive completed. High school water softener and water line replacement completed. Air handler unit number 14 abatement and valve replacement completed. Middle school handrail and guard railing install completed. Cafeteria exterior brick replacement completed. Concrete repair by basketball court completed. Prep work for special education swing set completed. Swing set to be installed in July. Marshfield Elementary, or Madison Elementary, exterior brick repairs will be completed in July. Masonville Elementary, dirt work on mound system, lawn, ruts, and seeding completed. Unbelievable with the amount of rain. Washington, exterior brick repairs will be completed in July. Parking lot extension for snow plowing, snow piling completed. Natural athletic fields, weeds and feed completed in May. Fall application scheduled. Lawnmower replacement completed. Pickleball project 99% complete. And I will tell you, it's awful nice. I was there with my grandson and I played pickleball.
You're delivering on your promise there.
And I'm awesome. I'm really good server. District-wide concrete repairs to begin in July. Projects currently being out included in asphalt roofing, hallway flooring, in Nasonville and the basement of replacement of 3 classroom floors at the middle school. And that is the meeting. Any questions? All right. Sir? All right, thank you, Steve. We will move on to curriculum and instruction. Kathy?
Curriculum and Instruction Committee met on June 26th at 4:30 p.m. 2 members present, 1 member excused. We went through the academic and career planning program guide for a second reading. This is your action item for tonight. We also had a 4K and 5K update. The 4K update, Head Start notified the district that they would be withdrawing from the district's 4K collaboration. Certified teacher retention, adherence to 4K public school standards, and resource expectations and site accommodations were the reasons given for the withdrawal. The changes effective for the 24-25 school year. Grace Lutheran is no longer housing a 4K program for some of the similar reasons, and an afternoon session of 4K will now be held at Nasonville Elementary for the 24-25 school year. The additional section will remain staff neutral. 4K sites for the 24-25 Marshfield school year include the child care centers in Marshfield, Lincoln Elementary, Madison Elementary, Marshfield Clinic Health System, YMCA Youth Development Center on Pine, Nasonville Elementary, Tiny Tigers Intergenerational Center, Washington Elementary, the YMCA Pied Piper Child Development Center on McMillan. There was an indication that 5K enrollment is holding steady from the last update. Due to lower kindergarten numbers at Nasonville, classroom space will be shared with the afternoon 4K program. And work on student enrollment, school and classroom assignments will continue through the summer months to make sure that there is even scheduling throughout the schools. There were no future agenda items. The meeting adjourned at 5:11.
You have a motion?
I have a motion to, from the committee to approve the ACP 3-4E planning guide and academic and career planning guide and PI 26 education for employment plan for grades K through 12 for the school district of Marshfield.
All right, I have a motion on the floor on behalf of committee, approval of academic and career planning program guide. Is there any discussion?
Has it looked at grant schools, since they're going to have extra classrooms due to the size changes for kindergarten and first grade, to use that for 4K at all?
No, it wasn't.
Actually, the principal for grant school was present at the update meeting.
Okay.
And I believe that part of the plan is to attempt to spread the services throughout the district.
Okay.
And to keep the classrooms at a level.
And given the way that our program is structured, moving would mean taking from other locations. And we have, so for example, in district, those classes and sections are established and set to go, like Washington and Madison and Lincoln that have had, and will be at the same section numbers they've been at for a few years. We're adding Nasonville to replace the loss of Grace Lutheran. All of the other sites are community sites that we have contracts with and working relationships. So to put something in grant would mean taking away from the community sites, and would be a pretty substantial adjustment or change from what our program is. Is that something that we can look at as part of the big picture moving forward? Perhaps. But we're also not certain that things are going to stay the same on those section numbers at grant either. That's another thing that remains uncertain at this point in time.
Any more questions or comments? All right, seeing none, Jane, please take the roll.
Ms. Tremelli?
Yes.
Ms. Gorst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Force?
Yes.
All right, now policy and legislation.
So policy met on June 26th as well, and we went over second reading of the high school student handbook, the alternative high school student handbook, and the elementary student handbook. We did come up with some questions that we wanted to address further for the high school student handbook, so we tabled that. But we are bringing forward tonight for approval the alternative high school handbook and the elementary handbook. The changes that we discussed were just grammatical, some name changes, things like that. So on behalf of the committee, I'm asking that we approve the 2024 to 2025 alternative high school student handbook.
Okay, so out of committee, I have a motion on the floor to approve the 24-25 alternative high school student handbook. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Jenny, please take the roll.
Ms. Gorst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest?
Yes.
Ms. Tremelli?
Yes. Also on behalf of committee, looking for approval of the 2024 to 2025 elementary student handbook.
All right, so on behalf of committee, I have a motion on the floor for the approval of the 24-25 elementary student handbook. Any questions or comments?
Just one comment. Several points during the handbook, it references various policies. I know that sometimes our policies are difficult to access and figure out how to get to. Is there a possibility that when we post this for parents, that those policies could be posted as an addendum and available?
Are you referring to, and keep in mind that these are paper print documents that are received by kids and families. So if you mean paper print, that would substantially increase the size of what the materials are.
No, what I'm thinking as a separate, right, because I believe these are also accessible to the parents on, are they not?
Remote, they are online, yeah.
Online. Can we have that attachment with the online version so that parents don't have to go looking for it, they can access it quickly if they have a question about it.
I think that involves like hyperlinks perhaps. Okay.
I mean, that would make sense because that, for them to go hunt it down and then try and figure out where to find it in the policies is difficult.
Any more questions or comments? Jenny, please take the roll.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forrest?
Yes.
Ms. Tremelli?
Yes.
Ms. Gorst?
Yes.
All right, Dale, looks like we're moving on to finance.
Finance. Our finance committee meets just before our executive session, so we met tonight. Sam Lehman, our business director, was kind enough to give me a printout of some of the issues and some of the adjustments and so on. There was a investment earning of $585,359.40. That was investment earning in June alone of almost $66,000 in June. Update on the budget. Preliminary budget was approved with a deficit of $575,502. However, once again, we're in that situation where because of a number of things that happened at the state and other issues with state aid certification, property evaluations, finalized grant allocations, private school voucher levies, open enrollment numbers, the budget will continue to be finalized as data becomes available, with further refinement needed before the certification of levies, and that takes place in late October. There are some insurance renewals that came in at about $22,000 higher than anticipated. The property insurance had a 32.15% increase, but as suggested by one of our committee members tonight, we're going to continue to take a look at that and see if maybe that number can somehow be looked at. Right now, we're part of a consortium, I believe, Sam, that deals with that, about 60 different school districts roughly, and it was suggested that maybe we take a look at what some of the other districts are doing along those lines. Auto insurance, about a 4% increase. Workman's comp, about 6.87% increase. There was an adjusted special education transportation budget, combination of being slightly over budget in 23-24 because of a Cobuson, or bus company's proposal to add an additional special education route to the 24-25 school year. However, it also trimmed back the regular education transportation budget by $30,000 after reviewing the past few years of budgets and expenses. There is a meeting scheduled, I believe, this Friday with Cobuson, is that correct? As far as the actual date, to begin the process of discussing routes for the 24-25 school year. And Sam mentioned that he feels there is a potential to consolidate a regular education route, which would be another cost savings at that point. Move the entirety of the 24-25 capital projects budget to a Fund 46. I'm glad that Sam explained this to me, because this is where it gets complicated unless you're dealing with this every day. This will save the district $300,000 in the general fund, but will reduce Fund 46 by the same. This will be the first budget item restored should the surplus deficit allow for it. If the board has any more questions on that, I'm sure Sam will be glad to help out on that. Let's see, we have about $300,000 left in ESSER funding. I believe that has to be spent by when? The end of September 30th. There have been some other budget adjustments that have taken place. There are state aid projections, and again, I hate to say this becomes a broken record, but again, as we don't know for sure where some of this is all headed because of things at the legislative area. I understand that the Milwaukee Public School District is under quite a bit of a financial overview by the state, I guess, to put it mildly at this point. To keep track of that, you might want to read the Journal Sentinel every once in a while. And there may be a prior year accounting adjustment because it's felt that there may be some accounting adjustments that were incorrect out of the Milwaukee School District. That could return $35 million and $50 million to the general pool for distribution across the state. Lastly, as of 2022, that's the last census, Wisconsin per pupil spending was 7.2% below the national average, ranking 25th among 50 states. In 2002, Wisconsin was ranked 11th among states, spending 11% more than the national average per pupil. This 14th place drop was the largest change in state ranking in the nation during that time. Some future items, we're going to be looking at the final payment of the Apple lease. That will free up about $366,000 for the 2025 and 2026 budget year only. There will be a final payment on some refunding bonds that were issued in December for energy efficient projects, and that created a structural savings of $329,875. But again, that's for 25-26, correct? So that's not just next year, it's the following. OPEB, which is basically retirement benefits, is that?
Other post-employment benefits,
Yeah, okay. Other employment benefits is projected to decrease by $184,167 after the 24-25 and is expected to continually decrease as the OPEB plan is being phased out, and that's been worked on for several years in the district. Again, state budget discussions will ramp up following the November elections as we enter the 2025 through 2027 biennium budget cycle. And the variance report, the budget is coming along as expected as opposed to as a funds in, funds out. But we were happy to report that because of the mild winter, there was a significant saving on snow removal budget of $214,000. Also, heating fuel costs were also down compared to the prior year. The remaining budget was $45,000. And I don't think we have anything on for an action item tonight as well. So that's basically it. Anything I forgot, Sam?
No,
Because you deal with this every day, so.
Thanks, Dale. Looks like employee relations.
Oh, going right back to me. Here we go again. New business, professional staff 2024-2025 alternative compensation methods were looked at. That's a first reading, however, and that is available to you in board docs. The item will be presented as a first reading at the July 10th meeting, which is now, but then we'll go on with that with a possible approval of that at the next board meeting. Substitute teacher pay was also discussed. There has always been, I mean, I've been in the district since 1972. There's always been an issue trying to find substitute teachers. And so one of the items that was looked at by our employee relations committee was to take a look at the daily pay rate. The current rate for substitutes is $130 a day. Surrounding districts range from $125 to $150 a day. A final recommendation will be brought back to committee next month, as that was sent back to administration for further study. And I guess that's it.
All right. Thanks, Dale.
Just looking to make sure we didn't have an action item. Okay, we're okay, we're done.
All right. Moving on to new business. I'll be looking for a motion for approval of retirements.
I move to approve retirements.
And just to clarify in this area, we do specify the person by name. So if you were to look at the personnel report, well, if you could just specify that's Janet Hurt.
Yeah.
Perfect.
For Janet Hurt.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Jenny, please take the roll.
Okay, Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forst?
Yes.
Ms. Tremelli?
Yes.
Ms. Forst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
The next item would be approval of resignations. That includes Jessica Griesbach, Teacher Assistant of Health Services at Masonville. Nicole Shallow, Teacher Special Education Specialized Program at Madison. Melanie Smith, Speech and Language Pathologist at Grant Madison. And Taylor Varsho, Teacher of Health at Middle School. I think she's going to be the new principal at Pittsfield High School, I believe. I think at least she's in the running for that right now, and that I think also kind of answers some questions about the resignation from coaching basketball in Marshfield. So those are the approval of resignations.
So you got the motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking for a second.
I have a second.
Steve beat me.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Jenny, please take the roll.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forst?
Yes.
Ms. Tremelli?
Yes.
Ms. Gorst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes. All right, I'll be looking
And we
for.
move on to approval of employment of new personnel. And boy, a couple of these names, if you are sitting here in the audience, I'm apologizing ahead of time. The first one is Jaden, B-O-I-V-I-N, Boivin, Teacher of Health Physical Education at the high school. Maddie Coutley, or Cootley, Teacher of Special Education Specialized Programs at Madison. Juanita Friedenfels, Teacher of ELL, Teacher Coach at the elementary level. Nathan Kruzan, Teacher of Social Studies at the high school. Elizabeth Ott, Teacher of Special Education at the middle school. Kenneth Tamburino, teacher of English at the high school, Georgette Teschner, social worker at the middle school. And I guess I'm moving that forward for approval.
Okay, I have a motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion on the floor, approval of employment of new personnel. Any discussion?
If I may just give a recognition, is that okay? I haven't had firsthand experience with Elizabeth Ott as far as work with children with autism. And as a matter of fact, over the last year, she happened to come and work in something that was completely out of her element, which was cardiology. She learned a lot of stuff very quickly, and as valuable as she became in our cardiology lab, and I'm sad to see her go. I am more in touch with the value of good teachers, and especially in special education, because it takes somebody very special to do what she was able to do and what I witnessed her doing. So I applaud her coming back, and I just wanted to give that recognition personally.
Any other discussion?
Do we also need to approve the dietary? Or is
That's,
that separate?
that's a separate item. That's
Okay.
a administrative contract.
Okay. Thank you.
Jenny, please take the roll.
Okay. Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forst?
Yes.
Ms. Tremelli? Yes. Ms. Forst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes. Finally, approval of employment of administrative personnel, let's say administrative person, and that's Bradley Dolzal, Director of Food Services for the school district. And I move that forward as an individual board member.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
How many applicants do we have for that position?
I don't know that exact number offhand.
And were there any that had experience in school districts?
Kathy, talking openly about credentials and background of applicants for a position, I don't think is an appropriate item to be discussing in an open meeting like this. You know, as best as I can recall from memory, there were 6 or 7 applicants. Sam, I think you were a part of that. And there were a number of people that were interviewed. I know you had asked that executive about previous experience and background, but you know, if I could speak to Melanie, who resigned, Melanie had 0 experience in school districts when she started here with us as well. So we believe the candidate is well credentialed and capable and a good choice for this assignment.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Jenny, please take the roll.
Mrs. Forst?
Yes.
Ms. Tremelli?
Yes.
Ms. Forst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
All right, looks like we have a last item, annual declaration, parent notice.
Yeah, so this is a annual mandatory agenda item that school boards have to have at their July meeting. The statutes that require this are referenced within the notice of the agenda. You know, again, school boards are required to place this as a notice item on the agenda. It's not an action item, it's just a notice item, but we're required at our first meeting of each new school year in July that clearly identifies the pupil academic standards that are adopted and in place by the school district or will be in place for the upcoming school district, or upcoming school year. So clicking on that item on the agenda, you'll see that there is a hyperlink that takes you to what the listing of curriculum is within the school district for the upcoming year. So again, just want to give that little bit of background. It's a state requirement to put that as a notice on the agenda, board agenda in July, not an action item, just a notice.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right, I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. A second.
discussion on that? Seeing none, Jenny, please take the roll.
Ms. Trevelyan? Yes. Ms. Gorst?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Mrs. Conrady?
Yes.
Mr. Yekitis?
Yes.
Mrs. Ott?
Yes.
Mrs. Forst?
Yes.